During the campaign season, we've heard a lot about economic development. Do you believe that it is important to protect the waterfront from private developers?
I think that's an interesting question. And I think Marrisa has brought a bunch of groups together to do both private and public development. I think that fundamentally the waterfront has to be the people's, and I think we have a 20-year commitment to that. The Lakefront Waterfront Park is an amazing place to go. I spend a lot of time there in the summer with my kids, and Battery Park too, which is almost waterfront, which is sort of nice. You know, you can watch the sunset from there in an amazing way. And so I think fundamentally the waterfront has to be the people's, and I know that Marrisa has talked about some minor development down there, and I'm really glad that we are reusing the space that's the Moran plant. I think there was a great public process around that. Something like 60% of the people in Vermont said that in Burlington said that they wanted to reuse that space. I think it's a building that's already there, it's built to last, and it makes sense to reuse that resource. So we are going forward with that, and that's kind of a mix of private and public development. And I think that as long as we know we have a fundamental commitment to keeping the waterfront for the people of Burlington and other folks who come here to visit, then there are possible opportunities for some kind of mixed use in certain parts. And you know, I think when we think of the waterfront, I think at least mostly of Waterfront Park, but there's also a lot of other space that's down there, and you know, I think we have to keep our minds open while obviously always making sure that people have access. Actually, along those lines, when I was at 3 Cathedral Square the other day, I was talking with some folks about what they do to use the waterfront, and they were saying that they'd really like more benches there, that they end up getting down there to use some of the swinging benches that are by the lake, sort of over near the Echo Center and then along the boardwalk, and that often those benches are occupied, and that really that makes it hard for them because they've walked and they're elderly, and you know, they don't then have a place to sit down. So I would like to work on getting more benches down there so that people can actually sit and enjoy the views of the lake and watch the ducks and all the people that are down there.
Another thought for the seniors that go down there, some of them have these electric wheelchairs, and the wheelchair has a range of 7 miles. But it's possible to, by the time you get down to the lake, you have to go around in order to get down there. You could run out of fuel and get stuck. Maybe the city could provide plug-ins for the wheelchairs.
It's a good idea.
Yeah.
It's a really good idea. I think people don't think about this kind of, you know, the limitations that some folks have on their lives. And as I've talked to people in the neighborhoods, I have really been learning about what it's like to be, you know, someone who isn't in their 30s and pretty able to get around. And I'm glad for that knowledge, because while it's something that, you know, I think about in, you know, in theory, what I've heard is a lot of people's actual daily needs, and I'm really glad to hear that, because it makes it so that I can represent those needs going forward. And I've already been back in touch with people about certain questions that they have had, or started to work as an advocate for those issues. And so regardless of whether I'm elected, and I hope that I am, I hope that I can be on the city council and work as an advocate there. But even if I'm not, I feel like I've already learned a lot about what's going on here in the city and things that need to be improved that I will work with people to make happen.
Many people have expressed a concern about development leading to urban sprawl. How do you feel about high-rise buildings in Burlington? Should the 10-story limit be increased?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that specifically. I think right now there are places that aren't as high as they could be, and I'm thinking right now about City Market, which is right in the heart of downtown, and I wonder why there's not a way to put another story on there, or why this wasn't thought of when they built. You know, put a story on there that is a co-op housing on the top. You're downtown, you know, you could maybe have it be a place for people who don't want to own a car, and that could be one of the things that, you know, unites that co-op. And the people live there and they're able to walk to everything that's downtown. They have a city, they have a supermarket there, they have the drugstore there, multiple drugstores actually, a local one included. And you know, maybe we have to just look at the infrastructure that we've got and say, okay, well, you know, maybe we need to build a little bit higher here, or, you know, I don't know all of the implications of that particular site. It's just that I'm at City Market fairly often, or downtown, and I see, you know, I started thinking about why choices were made. The buildings around City Market tend to be higher than it is. So that was just one idea that came to my mind. And you know, maybe there are neighbors there who wouldn't be thrilled with that. And obviously you need a public process for any kind of change, but you know, we have to think about those kind of options. And so in terms of going higher than 10 stories, I think before we get to that point, we need to look at what's already here and decide whether we have everything that we could have already before we go making sort of significant, huge changes to the city skyline.
I remember 3 years ago in the mayoral campaign, there was one candidate who wanted to put housing out in the Intervale because he objected to the high-rises. But one of the main reasons that I moved to Burlington, one of the things that I like most about Burlington is I live right in the very center of the city, and I can walk to everything. And I live in a 10-story building, and I think it's really ideal to be in a 10-story building, and even more. 15 stories would be just as good, I think. And if we could have more of those buildings in the city, more people could live within walking distance of everything. It would reduce the need for cars and buying foreign oil, and it would be better for everybody. I would like to see the city build up rather than expand out and create more sprawl.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I live pretty close to downtown myself, and live on a very small plot of land, and we did that intentionally because when we moved to Burlington, we decided that we wanted to make the most of living in a dense area and not, you know, be a part of sprawl. And I think that is really important. I think some people really do want to have their lawn and that kind of thing, and I'm not saying that we should take that away or force people to not have the gardens that they have. I know a lot of folks in Burlington use their space extremely wisely. They have lots of gardens. They feed themselves and neighbors, and I think that's really smart. I think we should have that and encourage that. I also think that density is something to think about, and we should make that a possibility for people. And I think there are a lot of reasons probably not to build in the Intervale, including just the floodplain and issues and that kind of thing. So just sort of from a practical perspective. But also I think it's true, we should look to putting the people where the services are, and that's downtown mostly. And I mean, on that note,